Shalom, Sarah.
Shalom, Sarah.
I was discussing Genesis with my cantor, and as we read the descendants of Noah that were born on the ark, we began to think about the descendants of Noah that live in North Carolina.
What an interesting and thought-provoking question.
Of course, my cantor went to MIT and rabbinical school. He's a smart Jew, and told me that I should conduct a confidence interval and specifically a 1 proportion Z interval. He explained that a confidence interval is conducted when wanting to find the range of values so defined that there's a specific probability that the value of a perimeter lies within it. When I asked why a 1 proportion Z interval would be most effective for our purposes, he explained the differences between all 3 intervals, Z, T, and 1 proportion Z.
Kind of rhymes.
I know, magic. He asserted that a Z interval is used when a sample mean and standard deviation are provided, whereas a T interval is when the population means and standard deviation are provided. Then he explained that a 1 proportion Z interval is most effective for our desired data collections as it's used when working with an individual proportion or p hat with the Z score as the critical value.
Wow, that's quite the spiel. Did your cantor warn you about margin of error?
No, what is that? Please explain. I want to make sure this test is very, very accurate.
Oh, yes, of course. Well, finding the margin of error allows for the most credible results to occur. It tells you how many percentage points your results will differ from the real population value. It can also be thought of as the range of values below and above the sample statistic in a confidence interval. The equation is also quite simple, just requiring you to multiply the critical value and the standard deviation of the statistic.
My cantor did warn me about the standard error and the standard deviation of the sample. He explained that the standard error of the sample is an estimate of how far the sample mean is likely to be from the population mean, and that the standard deviation of the sample is the root mean square of the differences between observations and the sample mean. However, I do feel like I'm missing something though. I'm going to look through my AP Stats textbook.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. The 4-step test.
Yes, the first step is the introduction. For our purposes, it would be, we are conducting a 1 proportion Z confidence interval to determine the true proportion of Jews in North Carolina.
Yes. Step 2 would be to check the conditions. Is it random? No. It is information found from jewishnc.org. The data might be based on a census, but it is unknown how the data was collected. Is it independent? The population should be bigger than 10 times 45,953, which it is. The population of North Carolina is roughly 10.5 million. Is it normal? Is N times P greater than 10.5 million times 0.004 equals 4,200. So yes, it is bigger than 10. Is N times P minus 1 greater than 10? 10.5 million times 0.996 equals 10,458,000. So it looks like all the conditions are met.
That's a mitzvah.
It is a mitzvah.
Well, step 3 is to do the math. On our TI-84 calculator, we would select stat, go over to test, and then select 1 proportion Z interval. Enter in our X or P hat, 45,935, and our sample size, N, which is our total population, the population of North Carolina, which is again 10.5 million, and the confidence level. We are conducting a 95% confidence interval, so it would be 0.95. The calculator conducts the test and states the interval is 0.00434 to 0.00442, a p-hat value of 0.00437, and N is still 10.5 million.
Finally, step 4 is to put the math into a pretty sentence to end our spiel. So we will say, we are 95% confident that the true proportion of Jews in North Carolina is between 0.43% and 0.44%.
This message is Bubby approved. That was a long explanation. I think I'm schwitzing now.
Oy vey, we should go nosh and kvetch.
Choose.
2, 3. You know, I heard that John slept with Miriam, but he's actually married to Rebecca.
But I heard that Esther and Abraham are getting divorced.
Oh gosh.
Action.
Jewish life is bliss. All right, now that we're done with that was fun. We're going to take some answers from our population.
What proportion of North Carolinians do you think are Jewish?
Let's go find out. Sir, can you tell me the proportion of North Carolinians that are Jewish? Out of the population of North Carolinians, what percent do you think are Jewish?
13%.
What proportion of North Carolinians do you think are Jewish?
15%.
What percent of North Carolinians are Jewish?
5%.
What proportion of North Carolinians do you think are Jewish?
1%.
Can you tell me the proportion of North Carolinians that are Jewish?
What proportion of North Carolinians do you think are Jewish?
25%.
What percentage of North Carolinians do you think are Jewish?
13%.
My cantor did warn me about the standard error and the standard deviation of the sample. We were doing so well.
It's okay. You can keep going. Bloopers.